getting Russian oil. So the question is, why is New Delhi being singled out, and how do you think this is going to impact, U.S.-India ties in the future?
I think New Delhi gets singled out just simply because President Trump does want that relationship to be solid, but he does want it to be an equal relationship. As Americans, we don't want to be enemies with India. We share a lot of different industries. There's a lot of trade that goes back and forth. We depend upon Indian goods. So we do understand that there is like some growing pains that are going to happen through this tariff transition. However, we believe that once everybody settles in and they get used to the ideas of the tariff changes, that things will be a global success to where everyone is able to, get a fair trade throughout the world. And India would be no different. We want to have good trade relations with them. However, President Trump does want to end the Ukraine-Russia war, and I believe that this is his foot in the sand moment, and setting his ground, saying, "Hey, I want to get this done, and I need everyone to cooperate."
Right. Sir, but Donald Trump has been saying that, the extra 25% tariffs that have been imposed on India is because of importing Russian oil. But at the same time, the United States itself has been saying that it has improved its ties with Russia. We saw this statement coming in during the summit in Alaska. And of course, the European Union has also been, having good trade ties with Russia. So the question is, why just India?
Because India is a growing power in the region, and we want to make sure that India knows that the United States is your main rival, and we want to make sure that it's a positive relationship rather than a negative relationship, to where India doesn't go off and start to cater towards the global enemies of the world, where with Modi having a positive meeting with President Xi Jinping, that could draw some concerns where India is going to align itself with China. However, we don't know that that's what happened, but it's a possibility. Or India develops a relationship further with President Putin. We don't want to isolate those countries. However, we have to make sure that we understand where everyone's heading and who's in alliance with who, in order to continue to keep global prosperity and global peace.
But at the same time, I'd like to ask, how do you think this is going to pan out in the future as far as the US-India ties are concerned? Because as we can see, there is a shifting global order, and many countries that are facing tariffs from the United States are now looking for other allies. So how do you think this is going to pan out as far as the international relations is concerned as well?
At the end of the day, when you really look at the spectrum of the global markets, it's undeniable that the United States is the largest consumer of goods in the world, and we will continue to be the largest consumer of goods in the world. We have the strongest economy in the world. So other countries are going to want to align with other nations, but when it comes to growing their own GDP, they rely on the United States for that. I don't think that's a big secret across the globe. So they're going to want to work these deals out. I'm very optimistic that when this is all said and done, when Russia ends the war with Ukraine, India is going to have a very fair tariff that everyone will be happy with. And we'll start to see this global economy really take off, to where every country is going to be successful and have their own level of growth.
All right, stay with us. So we'll just come back to you. And meanwhile, viewers, we have more breaking news coming in, and that is Donald Trump has reiterated his accusation against India of charging one of the highest tariffs in the world, while defending the 50% tariff imposed on Indian imports in the United States. by citing American motorcycle company Harley-Davidson as an example of unfair trade. So, US President Donald Trump were there citing the example of Harley-Davidson motorcycles, saying that the company could not sell into India because there was 200% tariffs on the motorcycle. All right, viewers, more breaking news coming in right now. Donald Trump, in yet another display of his grandiose posturing, has taken to the stage to defend his tariff policy, this time dubbing it the ultimate war settler, while claiming it hands Washington a great negotiation ability. But speaking to reporters as he announced the move of the U.S. Space Command headquarters to Alabama, Donald Trump on Tuesday touted tariffs as a magical negotiating tool, claiming that tariffs not only boosted the U.S. economy, but also helped him settle 7 wars. Let's listen in to Donald Trump.
It's everything in the world would die. It's true. It's so powerful. It's so big. And I made it really big in the first 4 years. Then it started to degenerate with what this Biden administration did. But we built it up to a level that I never thought we could be at this quickly. We're the hottest, we're the best financially. The money coming in is so big because of tariffs and other things, but because of tariffs. Tariff gets us even those other things. Plus, it gets us great negotiating. I settled 7 wars, and numerous of those wars were because of trade.
All right, let's go back to Mr. Lemkul. Mr. Lemkul, now with Donald Trump calling tariffs the ultimate war settler and also a powerful negotiating tool. How do you look at that statement, because the history has shown that tariffs all across the world, whenever they have been imposed, have not really been successful in doing a lot of things. But now putting all the onus on the tariffs to do everything and to, settle all the trade difficulties and also a war settler.
The tariffs back then. We had other world leaders who were not quite as bold and straightforward as Donald Trump is. With that said, Donald Trump does use the tariffs. He does use global economy as a negotiation tool. I think with his business background, he understands how to use that strength. I think it's a good way to do it. And we're starting to see, several countries have already come to the negotiation tables, and they've been rewarded with a very fair tariff where it's reciprocal and everyone seems to be happy with it. So I think President Trump is onto something here. The way that he conducts business, it may be unorthodox as to how people are used to doing business across the globe, especially with the U.S. presidents in the past, where they've been very passive and have allowed a lot of things to happen, which caused this imbalance amongst our deficits in many different countries.
Sir, also at the same time, now India continues to position, of course, itself as a major global economy and of course, a very strong partner to the United States. And at the time when Donald Trump has framed these tariffs as a tool of a geopolitical war, and what really message do you think this is going out for allies, other allies? Of course, India has been one of the key, strategic ally of the United States. And now these tariffs and these statements coming in from Donald Trump, what message really you think this is sending to allies like India?
I think it does put the U.S. ally countries like India in a difficult position. I don't think it's a position that President Trump wants to be in with India or other allies. However, I do believe that we are in a transition. I think he has an idea of what he wants this whole tariff situation to look like. And getting resistance, even if it's just a little bit, even if it's from an ally, which he did state, friend or foe, it's going to happen. These tariffs will happen, is part of his grand plan. I think once we allow the tariff situation to kind of settle in and get working, it's going to benefit everyone. When Trump first initiated his tariff plan and raised tariffs on everyone, most of the economic experts in the United States said, "Oh, he's going to crash the economy." But then we're looking back now and we're like, "Wow, how wrong were they?" And we're seeing our economies, our Dow Jones is hitting a record high. Our S&P's hit a record high. Everything is hitting a record high economically. Now, once we get all of these deals done with all the other countries and allies, and even countries that are not so much great allies of the United States, we want to see their economies grow too. There's something that they can provide the world that can be purchased. This is going to benefit everyone, and we want to see that happen. We want to see that global growth. We want to see fair trade throughout the globe. That's what President Trump is getting at. And in order to do that, sometimes he's going to have to make tough decisions. Unfortunately, India's in that crossfire right now because of the deal with Russia. We didn't want that to happen, but it happened, and we're going to deal with it. And, eventually it's going to work itself out, and this relationship's going to turn into a positive relationship.
All right, Mr. Eric, thank you so much for joining us here on Republic TV and sharing your views on that big story. And viewers, we have more breaking news.